Hi folks, this is Meredith from the Papery Craftery, and today we are going to be making some little spiky mimosa plant flowers. We're going to be making the little yellow versions of these. I have wider paper here. This is the 3/8 inch wide paper from Quilt Creations. I have it in pale yellow and I have it in sage green. And then we're going to be making some stems. So I have thinner paper here, once again, the standard 1/8 inch wide. This is light brown, and it's also from Quilt Creations. So we just need 3 colors today. I do have my cork board covered in parchment paper. We're going to be using that later on when we're building our branches and our flowers. We're going to be fringing a lot. So I have the scissors that I like to fringe with. They're very small little craft scissors. Also, we're going to be using a slotted quilling tool, and if you have some tweezers, they might come in handy. We're also going to need glue. I'm going to be using Elmer's Glue All, and then also some Aleene's clear tacky glue. That's going to help speed up our process a little bit towards the end when we are building our flowers and our branches. Now we're going to be doing 2 things here. We're going to be making these small yellow kind of puffy spiky flowers, and we're also going to be making the leaves or the branches that go with them. So if you can see, they are also pretty feathery and spiky. So like I said, we are going to be using those fringing scissors a lot. So get ready. To start with though, we're going to be making the branches that are going to hold both our flowers and our leaves. And this is something, I keep saying it every time, I've done a million times before. We're going to be making double thick strips with our light brown paper. So if you've been following me for a while, you can skip the next 30 seconds or so because you've seen this a few dozen times. But if you're new, we are going to be taking 1 long strip of this light brown paper. This is about 18 inches long, and we're folding it in half, and we're using our needle nose container to make a solid, steady but not heavy line of glue all the way down 1/2 of the paper starting at the fold. If we miss any bit, we're going to go back and just add a little bit of glue just to make sure that there's a long strip all the way down. And then, always tricky to do on camera, we're going to fold it back up from that fold in the center that we made, and then we're going to zip it through our fingers every which way. Make sure that we spread that glue out and there's no air bubbles. If you missed a spot with your glue, it's going to leave an air bubble. So keep turning and keep pushing a few times until that is set, and that's going to, once it dries, make a much sturdier piece of paper that we can use as a branch for our flowers, and like I said, also those fringy feathery leaves. Now we are moving on to the flower portion, and I have here, again, this is 3/8 inch wide paper from Quilt Creations. It's not cardstock. It's not what they sell for the on-edge paper. It's just a little bit wider. And I'm tearing these into pieces that are about 3 inches long. No need to measure these. This is just an approximation. It's okay if some of them are slightly different sizes. Maybe they'll just be the buds of the flowers that aren't as big yet. That is totally fine. So now we're going to start fringing these like crazy. I am stacking a few up together because you need a lot of these for this project. If you want to just do one at a time, that is totally fine. I am just going to do a few in a stack here. I found that does work fairly well. And I'm using my scissors, and I am just cutting about 2/3 of the way through this strip of paper. Once you get a little confident with the motion and how to hold it, you can definitely do a little bit faster. If you're wondering why I don't use a fringe machine or the specially fringing scissors that have multi little cutting pieces on them, I have a whole video demonstrating those different techniques. I can share that in the description box for this video, but spoiler alert, they just don't get the fine fringe that I can do when I do it manually with some small scissors. So I'm getting to the edge here, and if there's any spot like here where I think, oh, maybe it's not fine enough, just go back in with your scissors and just cut it a bit. It's okay if you lose a few little snippets there. You're going to get the effect just fine when it's all rolled up. So here is my fringe piece for the yellow, and I'm taking my slotted quilling tool, and I'm just trying to only hold the part that is not cut, just to make sure we're being really gentle with the cut pieces. And I'm going to roll it up till it's almost rolled all the way. Holding it on my tool with one hand, I'm going to apply a little bit of glue. This is still just white standard glue here. To the end, and then just roll it all the way up. And that is pretty much the basis of our flower. It's really tricky to get the full kind of circular looking flower that you saw in the picture earlier. Those are kind of just little puff balls. We're gonna get the idea of that. It's not gonna look identical. I did find, this is optional if you want to go this one extra step, that after you kind of push out your little fringe pieces, if you give just the bottom part kind of a haircut, it will help give the illusion that this is more of a ball of fluff and spikes rather than just the top half and the bottom is solid. And the way we're going to put the branch together later is going to help that vibe as well. So here's just a little bit of haircut just to the sides, just to give more of a circular shape to the fluff when you're looking at it straight on. And that's pretty much it for this flower. It's super simple, but you're going to make a whole bunch of these. You're going to make multiple branches of these, and you're going to make each of them have quite a few on each branch. So set yourself up with a show or whatever and start fringing. We're actually going to use the same exact fringing technique to make the leaves here. So I already have that done. I want to have about 5 or 6 inches of leaf on each branch, and I actually need 2 pieces of that fringed green paper to make each leaf. And I had my brown double thick strip that I made in the beginning. It's totally dry now, and I tore off a little bit longer of a piece of that, and that's how I measured how much green I wanted. So for each leaf you need 2 pieces of green that are fringed and 1 of the double thick brown strip. It's going to go in the center. We're setting this up a little differently than things that we've done before. We're going to apply a thin line of glue all along the edge of one of the green strips that has been fringed, the edge that is not fringed. So you see there, a little bit of glue all the way down. And then we're going to take our brown strip, it's all dry and nice and sturdy now, and we're just going to line that up flat right on that line of glue, trying to get the edges to be even. So it looks like a kind of a long skinny flag at this point. Get that all pressed on, let that dry for a second or two. And okay, it is definitely set. Okay, now we're going to put a skinny line of glue all along the other side of the brown strip, and we're going to place our other green fringed piece right on that glue. So it's a little leaf sandwich we have going here. And press that to make sure that it is set for a minute. And then, actually works better with a needle tool, but since I didn't mention that for this project, we're going to try to make it work with a slotted tool here, but a toothpick or even your fingers will work. It'll just take a little bit more time. We are separating both sides. There shouldn't be any glue on the fringed part, so this should separate pretty easily. We're separating both sides of the green away from the center to give it a little bit more of a open kind of flat leaf. you'll be able to see that thin line of brown down the center right there. And that's sort of the vein of the leaf or the branch. I'm not sure technically what you would call these, but we'll go with leaf. And keep opening until you get down to the other side. And we have gotten it all opened up here. There's always one or two little stragglers in the middle that wants to stay on the other side. But we're going to take our small scissors again and just sort of angle the top a bit, just so it's not as kind of rectangle and blunt at the top there. Just a little bit, just like half an inch down or so. It doesn't have to be exactly the same on either side. But we just kind of want to make it a little bit less square at the top there. You can bend these quite a bit. That double thick strip really helps hold the shape of these two. Not only is it strong, but it helps hold that shape if you do choose to bend these a little bit. So I have a few branches here, a couple different sizes, pointing in a couple different directions, all nice and fringed and feathery and ready to go. And now we're going to build the branches that have our flowers on them. And I'm making these really, really simplified. If you looked closely at the picture I showed in the beginning, each of these individual buds are on their own individual little piece off of the main branch. We're simplifying. We're bringing that back a little bit. We're just putting the buds directly on the branch. So I have about 2 inches here. You could make these longer, definitely. And I have some tacky glue, and I have my flower buds. Some of these I pulled off other branches of practice ones that I'd made, so just ignore that little brown bit that's on there. I made a little pile of my tacky glue, and you can either dip or you can use a toothpick or another tool to apply your glue. I like to start off with one right on the edge there and let that dry, and then put more on either side of the branch. So we can use tweezers if you feel like your hands are going to get in the way. Mine definitely were. And you can have these, some of them going at slightly different angles. I wouldn't have them lying down too much. And if you found that they also have started kind of closing up a little bit, you can open up that fringe again, either before you glue them on or once they are dried on the branch. I found it easier to do it once they were on the branch, because no matter how hard I tried, I would end up smushing them as well, either with my hands or with my tweezers. I would keep smushing the fringe back together again. So once it's dried, you can puff out your fringe flowers a little bit. And notice I don't have them super thick. I have them kind of spaced out a little bit on the branches there, because they're not all going to be completely solid and even. They're going to be kind of spaced out. And the beauty behind these flowers isn't just in the singular branch, which will still be very pretty if you add these as a different texture to your flowers. A lot of the beauty in these flowers is the multitude of them together. They're just very striking because they're so textured and they're so small, but you make a bunch of them together and there really is a wow factor to it. So here I'm kind of gathering some of my leaves together, just sort of making a bed of the leaves and then lying some of the branches on over top. I wish I had made some of these a little bit longer for just the time of making the video and having all these fringed. Sometimes I run out of time and can't kind of complete my original vision, but I wish I had some branches that were about twice as long as these, so I could really make this a little bit more dramatic. I'm having a hard time getting this one underneath, but I kind of wanted one really long one in the back there. But I think you probably get the picture of how these can come together. So like I said, you can use these as a standalone flower, or you can add them to a different type of arrangement that has lots of different types of flowers just to add some extra texture and color, whatever you think is best. Just a nice type of flower to have in your quilling toolbox. As always, I will leave the tools and supplies that I used in the description box for this video. There will also be a link there to my Buy Me a Coffee page where you can get a few quilling extras to support the channel. You also should leave any questions you have in the comment section, and I'll answer those as soon as I can. Don't forget to like and subscribe though, so you can be around for the next video, and I'll see you then. Thanks so much for watching. Bye-bye.